From Lalate News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on Lalate.
It's a big midday here on LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In this recording, we'll go over that $3.5 trillion recon that has passed. That'll pay viewers of this channel on average $15,000, plus an add-on of $25,000 on top of that, a $250 billion add-on second one, and then the MSC add-on on top of that. 3 clusters of checks that have been passed in this recon that pays viewers upwards of $15,000. Cluster number 1, hazard pay. Cluster number 2, home repairs. And cluster number 3, big money for my seniors. And then we go over all the latest details that's happening at noontime. Boy, a lot of it. And it starts with the wonderful people are back in town. The legislators are back. And sanction showdown is heating up at noontime. Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin, more meetings today. What happened last night? I have the details. A possible deal with Joe Manchin, and then possible backup plans at Well. I'll go over the details about that. Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt being forgiven, and COLA raises coming across the board. But you're going to get more raises after that. Then we turn to the big excitement as this channel now turns to a incredible 1.5-year anniversary. I'll have all the details of that as we turn also back to third stimulus. And the big money across the board as viewers are getting upwards of $36,000 in 1 week. I got all those incredible details for you as well, as it's a big noontime. The big exciting details are upon us. I have all those and more as the sun is up, the surf is up, and so is the stimulus at noontime. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. The sun has come out here in Southern California, and finally we have some beautiful weather along the coast, live on air as I join you at noontime. Boy, a lot of details in this recording. We'll be going over the clusters that are being proposed to be added into a recon that pays you about $15,000. They're proposing to add in there $25,000 to buy a new home, $250 billion for my seniors, and then those MSC checks. I have all those details in this recording. Cluster number 1 pass, which include hazard pay. Cluster number 2 pass with home repairs. And cluster number 3 pass with money for my seniors. I'll go over all those details in this recording. Then we'll be cutting back to the breaking news as big developments are unfolding with sanction as a potential, hit the wrong button, as a potential battleground is heating up with Joe Manchin and Bernie Sanders. Sanction is heating up. Of all the latest details in today's recording. Then we go over a possible deal with Joe Manchin. What does that mean for you and the potential backups for those plans? As Congress is now in town, so they got a lot to do in the next few days. Those details unfolding as well. They'll be cutting back over to student loan debt forgiveness, and then COLA, and then we'll be looking at the 1 year and a half year anniversary of this channel. A lot of details in this recording. The excitement's unfolding, and we're just getting started, and this is a big noontime. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, and consider becoming a member. Meantime, coming up next is Afternoons LA at 1 o'clock. Then we got the 3 o'clock afternoon show thereafter, and a big evening show. All the news cycles changing by the hour on the hour. So expect a totally different Evenings LA tonight than the afternoons. And let's go right into that $3.5 trillion recon by understanding what's passed pays money, about $15,000 to you. And that $15,000 is for the average viewer of this channel across the board, single individuals, married couple, people on benefits, people not on benefits, seniors, single individuals. It's all across the board. It's covered across 3 clusters of checks, and we're going to go into the first cluster, pass, starting right now. Hazard pay and $4,000 of elder care pass, and this is huge in this first cluster. They got hazard pay pass by broadening the earned income tax credit so more people qualify for for it as essential workers. $4,000 of elder care pass and up to $4,000 for young children's care as well. They got college grants in there for the college students, and the Pell's grant made tax-free, and also they got money in there for the university. They got money also that'll wake you up when I tell you free repairs for the home. Wow. Free repairs for the home if you're in a low-income community, totally covered in this fourth stimulus recon. As soon as it becomes law, I'm going to show you how to get all this incredible money. They got the CTC broadened the child tax credit, which would mean $51,000 a child. How does this pay? Up to $300 every month, every year, up to 18 years if that household is low income. And that is $51,000 per child. Wow. Then they got money for bikes, cars, and trucks, all electric in there as well. Up to 15% for the purchase of a new electric bike, $7,500 for a new electric vehicle, and a little bit more for a car if it's for business use or a truck. That is the first of three clusters of checks that's going to pay you about $15,000 when it becomes law. But we're going to turn now to the first add-on that's being proposed to be added into those clusters, and though that add-on is valued at $25,000 a person. Wow. Maxine Waters, the legislator here in Los Angeles, has proposed an add-on, the first one, which is $25,000 of hard, cold cash to go buy a house. This is for first-time home buyers. The federal government give you $25,000 for the purchase price of a new home, likely to come during escrow. The federal government will likely give the money right to the seller in your name. And there you go. That's the first of three add-ons. Now let's go to the second cluster of checks passed, and they are more home repairs and paid leave. It's important to remember that this recon is nothing to do with COVID. It's just life in general. And what they do? Well, they got paid leave in there. How much is this? A lot. $1,700 a week if you make $80,000, $70,000 or more per year. $35,000 annual salary, then you would get $800 a week. $15,000 annual salary, that would be about $400 a week. Paid family leave. You have to stay home because your wife is pregnant. Paid medical leave. You have to stay home because your son broke his leg. They got checks in there for childcare programs, household tax credits, checks for seniors like dental and vision. And then they got pre-kindergarten totally free and community college totally free. And then they got checks in there to weatherize your home. More home repairs, but these are for all communities, and this is to weatherize your home. Definitely needed to weatherize your home if the moderate Democrats are on the roof. As I always say, keep the moderate Democrats out of the House. And wherever possible, keep the moderate Democrats out of the Senate. There you go. That is the second of three clusters of checks passed that'll pay you about $15,000 in this recon. Let's go to the second add-on, and it comes from the wonderful legislator from Pennsylvania, Senator Bob Casey. It's $250 billion for my seniors and my disabled individuals, SSI, SSDI, and SSA, and other beneficiaries across the board. What is Casey proposing? A reform to home health care, for example, which would provide free home health care to you. Casey sees a problem that a lot of people cannot afford home health care. So what do? They have their son and daughter stay home out of the workforce to take care of them. Now he's going to solve two problems with one program. How he's going to do this? Give big money to the state and local so that they can offer a licensed professional home health care individual to come to your home for free. So your son and daughter won't have to do that anymore, and they can go into the workforce and make money for themselves. And there you go. That is the second of three add-ons. Let's go to the third cluster checks that have passed. And listen for the two keywords clean energy, the two keywords, clean energy in this third cluster, and get ready for a world exclusive. Here we go. Well, in this third cluster checks, a lot of deliciousness. Free school meals for all checks, tax break checks, cheaper prescription medication checks, checks for farmers, checks for free internet, checks for clean energy. That's coming up in a second. Checks for workers like independent contractors, and checks for seniors, dental, vision, hearing care checks, and lowering the eligibility age for Medicare, which brings us to our new exclusive, which comes from Bob Casey again. Bob Casey, the 61-year-old Democrat senator, proposes a change to Medicare eligibility, dropping the age, I have heard, exclusively from 65 to 60. There you go. Now, in that third cluster is one subsection called clean energy. Interesting tidbit. A deal hatched between the White House and Joe Manchin reportedly involves removing one of those checks from that clean energy section. I'm going to be covering this later in this video. But now that frees up money, and guess where that money goes to? You, the Purple Power Energy. The fact that the package is still there, the fact that the provision is out doesn't mean the money is out. The money just goes somewhere else. We learned this when the Senate parliamentarian removed the provision for the judiciary, said it can't be in there. They didn't take the money out, they just reallocated the money. Great news for you. Now, one of the provisions in the third cluster is great. It is free internet. How this works? You just reach out to city, county, and state. Say, I want that free internet. What's the username? The username is muddled. And the password, not my shirt. There you go. That's the username and password. And then it brings us to the third cluster, the third add-on. You've met the first add-on, the $25,000 from Maxine Waters for home buyers, the $250 billion add-on from Bob Casey for elders and people on SSDI. Well, here comes that third add-on, MSC, with not one but four great news stories about this at noontime. And one totally new you haven't heard until today. Well, the first one is that the number one senator in the game, I almost said Mitch, Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, has now said to viewers repeatedly he's inserting that monthly IRS stimulus check provision in there when it lands in the Senate. He's the Senate Majority Leader. He told Debbie Applegate that last week. He told viewer that before this weekend, and then he told Donnie's wife the week before that. Well, how do they do this? They got three opportunities on the House side, and they got one opportunity on the Senate side. Let's go over the details. We have a House package. We don't have a House bill. In the subcommittee of the House. What's a subcommittee? It's below the House floor, not to the House floor for a vote yet. And that House subcommittee author of the package is Sheila Jackson, the number 2 in the Progressive Caucus. $3.5 trillion doesn't have the MSC in there. They can add it in there. They can add the Maxine Waters provision. They can add the Bob Casey provision. Those three add-ons they can add before it becomes bill on the House floor. Then, if they don't do it then when we have a House bill and it's not in there, they can add it after they have the House bill, but before they have the House vote. And that would be done by House members. New at noontime is one viewer of this channel reached out to Omar's office yesterday, and Omar's office told the viewer that the negotiations for the MSC IRS stimulus check are over and that it will be going in on the House side. This is not different than the reporting previously on this channel. And how much? The amount is still the same amount that has been previously indicated by countless legislators to the viewers of the channel. Over, I think it's 3,000 viewers have been told the same story. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for 6 months. I then asked, where on the House side are they looking to do this? The viewer said it seemed from the conversation that they're looking to do it after a House bill, but before House vote. That means you won't see it on the House bill, but you'll see it before they have the House vote. Interesting. Let's see. But remember, we have the final 2 days that fixes it all at the very end, and that is the Senate vote-a-rama. If nothing is done on the House side, they can fix it on the Senate side with the vote-a-rama. And what is the vote-a-rama? It's a dance competition where there's a lot of very bad lobsters involved. The 2-day vote-a-rama is in the Senate, and its name is just very peculiar. It just conjures up the 1970s. It conjures up things that don't make sense, sort of like Joe Manchin's economics. Just nothing makes sense. But it's a 2-day vote-a-rama. I did not come up with the name. They did. During those 2 days, they introduced changes to whatever's on the House bill. Nothing in there, they got to add it in there. And they do it during the vote-a-rama. Who's in charge of the vote-a-rama? Chuck Schumer, who is the guy who calls the vote during the vote-a-rama. Chuck Schumer. Who determines what's called for a vote? Chuck Schumer. Who wants to insert that monthly stimulus check provision during the very end? Chuck Schumer, he says. And who's in charge of the clothing selection and the song selection? Mitch McConnell. So long as he doesn't choose the food, we're good. There we go. The vote-a-rama. Get ready for your bell-bottom and tie-dye shirts. It's all going to be wonderful. That is the third add-on of those 3 items across the board. But guess what? It gets even better. As we got a beautiful message going into the weekend from the chief of staff to the number 1 guy on your recon. And the chief of staff says a lot of great stuff. Let's go through it right now. You see the screen grab. They now have in total between congressional and senatorial offices received more contacts of advocacy from the LA Purple Power than the number of signatures in the American petition. 3 million, over 3 million Americans have called on behalf of Lalate to senators' offices. 3 million of you have called. Everyone is amazed by the outpouring of touching stories from the Lalate viewers. They now have a better understanding in Congress how the average Americans are trying to make it through the pandemic. They have heartbreaking stories because of you, Lalate, and now they have the voice of the people across the nation in you, Lalate, that has become too loud to be ignored. Wow. Very, very kind. Then the last sentence, let's read it on air together because it concerns me and also concerns you. It basically says, keep on advocating. Please continue your encouragement for the continued advocacy as the professional voice of the people you have become, Lalate, until this is over. Very, very kind. So basically saying continue to advocate until we're over the finish line. And we'll have more about this and what advocacy means and what the last year and a half has meant for all of us and what it tells us about going into the future as we look back at the first 1.5 years of this channel as it celebrates its anniversary this weekend. And the first 140 million views, what does it tell about where our society is going? But Congress is back in session. We'll be touching in and going over what they're doing for the recon. A deal with Joe Manchin as Sanchin is heating up. Sanders and Joe Manchin meeting last night and meeting today. I have the latest details at noontime on their meetings. A possible deal in the work. I'll be going over that possible deal with Joe Manchin and the backup plans and my opinion of what they should be doing with those as well. Then we'll be going over student loan debt forgiveness, which is heating up and could have another round this week. COLA raises and coming across the board. And we're not talking about Pepsi-Cola. We're talking about all your benefits, and we'll be seeing how there'll be 2 potential lifts thereafter. We'll be turning to third stimulus. We got a lot more coming up in the second half of this video, but first, here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as a big noontime ally continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. They're Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals. Reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join Lalate Daily for the excitement of the new Lalate live daily. The excitement starts on mornings Lalate at 9 a.m. Home Lalate returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons Lalate at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on Lalate. And the excitement continues right now as we go into the second half of Lalate with incredible great news across the board as guess what? They're back. Congress is back in session. All the latest details of what this means for you. The Sanchin equation is heating up. More meetings between Joe Manchin and Bernie Sanders with a possible deal looming. I'll explain what that deal is and the 2 backup plans as well. Carbon tax versus clean energy. Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt being forgiven, and more could be forgiven this week. Then what about the COLA raise? It's not just 1, it's 2 behind it as well. Then we look over to the incredible great anniversary of this channel this weekend, what it means for us going forward, and what we've learned over the last year and a half, and what we can learn going forward. We'll go look back and see where society is and what's coming up next. We got a big day, and that big day is upon us, and this is New Time. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Join me next on Afternoons LA. This video will automatically take you there at 1 o'clock. Then we have the big Afternoons LA show at 3 o'clock. Evenings LA at 5, and I'm really excited for you because shows every hour, upon the hour, for 16 hours a day, shows across the board on this channel. Shows 6 o'clock all the way to 4 a.m. the next day. With that, let's turn to the big exciting details that the president delivered us, and he may not be done with his surprises. The surprises are student loan debt forgiveness. More debts have been forgiven, and more could be forgiven this week, and I have my message about this as well. So, the president forgave student loan debts about a month ago for people who became disabled after graduation. Then last week, the president forgave student loan debts for people who went to work in the nonprofit sector after graduation for 10 years. Now your debts are forgiven. The president then surprised everyone by forgiving student loan debts for people who went to work in the public sector for 10 years after graduation. This is you if you work in the city, the county, the state, or the federal government, the post office, the library, the police union, if you work as a teacher, if you work at the local parks, this is you. Your debts have been forgiven. One viewer had the incredible revelation live on air. During the morning's countdown show, he asked, "But I've been a federal prison guard for 20 years since graduation. Does that mean my debts have been forgiven?" I said, "Yes, sir." He found it out while watching this channel. What incredible detail when it happened. Meantime, the president has indicated he'll forgive $10,000 of debt for everyone across the board. The Democrats, like Liz Warren, are holding out still for $50,000. My message is take the 10. Take the 10, do the deal, get it done. That doesn't preclude you from trying to do $40,000 more with the president at another date. Do $10,000 right now. It would be a big win right before the holidays, and it would be absolutely incredible. Meantime, Congress is back. They're back. They're back in town. And for over the next 3 weeks, they got to do the debt ceiling limit, they got to do roads and bridges, and they got to do the recon. And what's also on fire is Sanchin, the Bernie Sanders Joe Manchin equation, an expression I coined on this channel. Thank you. Sanchin showdown is heating up. Why is it heating up? Over the weekend, Bernie Sanders went to Joe Manchin's home state and published an op-ed in Joe Manchin's home publication. And basically said, go do the recon. Joe Manchin didn't like that, and that prompted a lot of war of words. So last night on Evenings LA, I told you there was a private meeting with them over dinner time. They did meet, and they said it was productive. More meetings are continuing today. What is going on? Well, there's a potential possible deal, and the first deal came from the White House. You're not going to hear this anywhere in broadcast media because it was exclusive in a print publication buried. The details involves taking one of the provisions in the clusters that have been passed and taking that provision and changing the wording so the big industries in Joe Manchin's state qualify for the money like any other state. This is huge. What's at issue? The White House came up with the idea, which is changing the language for how coal and natural gas power plants could qualify for the money, billions of dollars that are allocated in that cluster of the recon, which would be a big potential payday for the fossil fuel providers in Joe Manchin's home state of West Virginia. Joe Manchin has a couple of industries that are very big in West Virginia, and this would basically say, hey, we're now changing the language for you. You can now qualify for the money. How can you say no to that? I think it's a brilliant offer from the president, and the deal apparently is liked by Joe Manchin. Second, are two backup plans being proposed across the board. The first one is the clean energy, covered earlier in this video. In that third cluster, there's a lot of checks in there. One sub-cluster concerns clean energy. One of those checks in there Joe Manchin doesn't like. Well, the president's reportedly said, take it out. Obviously, take it out. Just take it out. What are we doing for? Just take it out. And where does that money go? It goes to the purple power energy. The money doesn't come out of the recon. It just gets reallocated back to our type of programs. There's a second backup, and that is the carbon tax. The carbon tax detail on this channel yesterday may have caused some people confusion because you may have thought the tax is a tax on you. Not necessarily. It's a tax on the carbon producers. And there's a lot of ways to write it. And this may be the winning ingredient. The fact that it has a lot of fluid different ways to write this tax is the potential alternative. Meantime, the big surprise across the board is that there is 3 items to fix in the recon, and 2 looks like they're done, and the third one looks very attainable any minute. So let's go over all those details right now. The first one to be fixed is the prescription medication language in the third cluster. Kristen Sinema wants the language changed. I think they've changed it because I have heard nothing about this in over maybe a week and a half. No, and I've heard almost nothing about Kristen Sinema either. So this one might be done. The second one is bringing the recon from 3.5 trillion to a price tag in the low twos, maybe high ones. This is very easy. I'm going to show it to you in a second. The third one is taking out the climate provisions that Joe Manchin doesn't like. Just take them out. I'll explain that in a second. Let's first turn to bringing the recon from 3.5 to low 2 trillion or 1.9 or something like that. The moderate Democrats want something in the high ones, mid ones. That is easy to be obtained. How do they do it? They just shortened the duration of the programs. Over the last few months, I've had a series of times where I said, I speculate the duration is this. Those speculated statements were actually world exclusives at the time. Originally, Bernie Sanders went into negotiations asking for a $7 trillion recon. I speculated the recon was $7 trillion because the programs were 20 years, is what I speculated. Now that has been confirmed. Why did the president ask for 20-year programs? Because he wanted something to run for many generations after he was no longer president. It was potentially a bad call at the time because he should have asked around, do you want to do 20 years? And they didn't want to do 20 years. So they said, this is pre-recon, that they'll do 3.5 trillion. Done. Deal. Signed. Sealed. Became recon procedural. Done and passed. Though that duration, not told to us at the time, but it certainly was a duration cut, Bernie Sanders said. I speculated it was 10-year programs. We now have the confirmation from Jalapal that what we have now in this clusters, 3 clusters, are 10-year programs at 3.5 trillion. So about 2 weeks ago, I said, this is easy. Just cut the programs shorter duration. Just shorten the duration of the programs. Don't remove the programs. Don't water down the programs. Just shorten the duration of how long they run. Instead of 10 years, run 5 years. Now, here is my message at noontime. It's going to be a mixture of a little bit of fact and a little bit of commentary. My commentary is when you're looking at the programs, don't battle over this with fellow Democrats of whether it's 5 years or 4 years, 6 years or 4 years. Just get it to a number and done. Because we sat back in 2020, we saw Nancy versus Donald. She was at 3.5 trillion, she wouldn't move. He was at 1.921. He would move a little on his number. She wouldn't move. And eventually, she got nothing because she wouldn't move. But this is different. This is Democrats with Democrats. So if you're at 5 years and you're at 2.1, and the moderate Democrats maybe say, no, do 1.9, which is 4 years. Just do it, and we're done. What's the big deal? That's my commentary of the subject. So let's turn now to the climate part of the equation. The climate part of the equation is a little bit more interesting. The climate part of the equation has a lot of checks in this recon for climate. Some of the checks in there, Joe Manchin's okay with. Some of them, he's not okay with. My answer to the situation, again, opinion, is take out the provisions of climate that are controversial and roll them over into what would become 6 stimulus recon in spring of next year. Chuck Schumer saved a lot of recons. We know that. I've covered it on this channel. He has a lot of extra saved up recons. Do climate as his own recon next year. The climate, here's commentary. The climate is crappy. It needs to be fixed, but it can be crappy for a few more months. Our wallets cannot be crappy for a few more months. They need to be good right now. And that brings us back to what Nancy Jalapal and Bernie have said in a series of quotes we're going to go over right now. What do they generally say? They generally say, shorten the duration of the programs. Good. For the first time ever, Nancy Jalapal and Lalate all agreeing. Shorten the duration of the programs. But Jalapal really is most focused on the same notion of what you and I talk about, which is we need big checks right away, right now, to the American people. To the American people. Those are the key 4 words. To the American people. We don't need to be delaying anything because of a climate provision, which does not go to the American people. It goes to fixing the climate. The climate can be fixed a few months from now. We need these big checks right now. And so let's go over the details of them right at the moment. Debbie Wasserman Schultz says it's an old cliche. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Absolutely. Don't sit around saying I have to have 5 climate provisions. If you got 1, get the 1, and then we'll do the other climate ones next year. Then Bernie Sanders had the quote about a week ago where said, I don't know what the moderate Democrats want. Now we do. The great news is the moderate Democrats can't stop talking now. So now they're telling us everything they want. Good. Just get it done and we're finished. We have Pelosi who had a great comment which basically said, the recon must get done because it will get done. I said it wrong. The recon will get done because it must get done. I love that quote. She's become the advocate of your recon now. But she also says central to the recon is the climate piece of the legislation. Yeah, because it is. It's getting the recon from 3 trillion to 2 trillion or 1.9 is easy. Fixing the prescription medication language, easy. But the climate part of it, an issue. If you got 3 controversial provisions, get them out of there. Senator Alex Padilla says no climate, no deal. Well, yeah, get the climate controversial provisions out and then you got it done. Bob Casey says, people have been asking me, why haven't you done this before? I said, damn right. This is why we haven't done it in 40 years. It needs to get done. And then Jalapal with the winning quote. Jalapal with the winning quote, which basically says 2 things. Quick checks, big checks. Don't worry about year 10. It was fine the president wanted to try for 20 years. It was fine the president wanted to try for 10 years. But now people don't want to do 10 years. The moderate Democrats don't want to do 10 years. And don't sit around worrying if it's 5 years or 6 years, if it's 4 years or 5 years. Here's commentary. Why? Because the big issue is big checks right now, this year, next year, and maybe the year after that. We can deal with year 4 or 5 at another time. But as Jalapal says, we don't need to do 10 years right now. This is a quote from Jalapal. It's better to reduce the number of years of the program because the universality of the benefits and the immediacy of the benefits are absolutely critical. And that's more important than having it for the entire 10 years. She also praised Nancy Pelosi for saying the same thing, which she did. And there you go. That is how you get the recon done. Well, I'm really excited for you because COLA is going up, and that is not the only lift of your benefits you are going to get if you're on benefits. If you're on SSI, I just killed myself. If you're on SSI, SSDI, and Social Security benefits, the incredible details are that your benefits are going up one time with COLA, but they're not just going up with only COLA. They're going to get 2 other lifts after that. Let's go over all the incredible details starting right now. COLA was announced by Social Security Administration, and that COLA raise, the graphic is just a little screwy there. Where is it? Yeah, come on in. There you go. Just say hello. There you are. Don't be afraid. COLA graphics is just very scared of you. The COLA raise is 4 to 5%, 5 to 6% in the next few weeks, but that is not the only raise you're going to get. What's going on? It's fifth stimulus, and fifth stimulus is going to give you 2 other raises thereafter. Let's put fourth stimulus aside for a second because I know you're going to say, but wait a second, fourth stimulus gives me a lot of money for seniors. It does. Let's just talk about fifth stimulus and COLA for a second. The great news is that Social Security Administration is announcing COLA is going up 5 to 6% in the next few weeks. This is big because when we were back in July, we thought fifth stimulus would raise your benefits up based upon inflation, which I was predicting at 5%. Remember the summer? Wall Street is saying 2%, I was saying 5%, and I said if you get 5% of fifth stimulus, it is great. Well, you're getting 5% of the COLA. Wow, that is huge. But that is not your only raise up. What's going on? Well, fifth stimulus kicks in thereafter, and they propose to first raise your benefits up if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits. That is a second raise up. Then they're going to apply a new benchmark. That new benchmark is inflation, and that would be applied in December 2022. Now, when you look at that, inflation is going to be at least 1, 2, 3% next year. COLA might be 0. Yeah. One thing I didn't explain well yesterday, I want to explain right now, is that this COLA raise is raising you up 5 to 6%, not just next year, but lifetime. Yes. So the check you're receiving every month right now, you will no longer be getting. You will always be getting this new check going forward lifetime, at least before we get to fifth stimulus. Because guess what? Then they're going to raise you up another time. That's a second lift up if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits. And then in December, they're going to apply the next benchmark, inflation, replacing COLA, which will potentially raise you up another 3%. They're going to move the asset cap dating back to a 1980s law that says you can't stay on benefits and also have more than $3,000 of benefits, $3,000 in the bank. And that'll allow you to have some stimulus checks and also some Casey Royal Blue for Canute. They're going to remove the income cap dating back to a 1960s law that says you can't work and stay on benefits. It's going to go away. And the marriage penalty is going to win. And love is going to win. No, the marriage penalty is going to lose, and marriage is going to win. Love is going to win because you will be able to get married to your longtime love interest and do a pair dance at your wedding. Like Rob and Sandy will be able to get married and no longer fear loss of benefits. That's fifth stimulus. Now, the one thing that no one saw coming is a big surprise across the board, and that is the big money for the incredible items of third stimulus. What's going on? Third stimulus has more money coming out, and that more money started with Treasury, but it's across the board. Get that pen, paper ready, and cell phone, because I'm going to show you how you can get money. Have you gotten $30,000? Have you gotten $40,000 from this channel? Average view of this channel who are members have gotten about $40,000 from third stimulus, and some of them are going back and getting more money. They're getting upwards of $80,000 to $100,000. I'm going to show you how to get this big money right now. We're also going to get some money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, clothing, food, appliances, meals, and holiday gifts. Get ready, and we're going to start with that rent. I'm going to show you 6 places to reach out to. Each place has different eligibility. They also have different pots of money. If one says no, reach out to the next. That's the first thing. Listen to the keywords I say in this video. That's the second one. It helps get people approved. And get ready for the nonprofits because they are incredible. Here are the 6 places you reach out to. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall and State House Authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID. Mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. And let's look at the rent that people are getting. Yes, these are members of this channel. They've gone all the way from 20 to 27,000 initially. But they've gone back, and like Mark on their 25,000, he got an additional $36,000. Everyone should be going back for additional rounds because there are additional rounds. If you remember this channel, watch for the newsletter and open the part where it says Treasury statement. Treasury has announced an additional $13 billion going out for rent. Read it before you make the phone call. Ask them if they got the money because guess what? They have the money. And when you ask them for it, they'll say, yeah, come and apply. And that's what happened for Prina. She got $6,000 the week before Mark got $36,000. Get those utilities. If you got 5 utility companies, reach out to all 5. Mark's brother-in-law got $15,000. The SNAP, get that SNAP if you haven't. Eligibility is easier than a stimulus check, and boy, it pays a lot. You get it from Department of Agriculture, and people's benefits are going up an average of 25% a lifetime automatically starting this month nationwide. Viewers are reporting incredible success stories. People going from $50 to $250. Mark's brother-in-law is going to $26,000 each year because of my recordings. Then combo, get as many combo items as you can. Here's Nancy. Here's Mark. He's going to almost 90,000 now. Here's Lorraine. She's going to almost 120,000. Get multiple sums of money and get that cell phone ready because we're going to go now over those nonprofits. If you reach out to all 6 places, city, county, state, and they say, we have the money, but you're not eligible, then reach out to the nonprofits. They do generally the same items under third stimulus, just with different eligibility because they're nonprofits. And here they are, 5 of them. United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. They're also featured in the newsletter for members across the board. The second thing important about them is they pay for items the federal government doesn't often pay for. They help homeless people get into shelters. They help you with clothing if you can't afford it. And then I had told viewers in September, reach out to Salvation Army for those holiday gifts. A lot of them are almost gone, but now Salvation Army is reportedly doing holiday meals for some people. And then they do a lot of things that focus on keeping you warm in the winter. So furnaces, portable heaters they sometimes pay for, refrigerators viewers have gotten, and fixing broken windows to make sure you are warm during those holiday months. Also blankets. Here again, the 5 nonprofits: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, and Catholic Charities. If you haven't become a member because all this is detailed in the newsletter that goes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. from me to you Pacific Standard Time. That newsletter features all the big money available. When we look at 4 stimulus, it's great because with 3 classes of checks so far, before you do the add-ons, it'll pay viewers of this channel about $15,000. As soon as it becomes law, I'm going to show you how to get these sums of money. Whether it's the home repairs or whether it is the bike, I'm going to show you all these sums of money, how you get them as soon as it becomes law. Third stimulus, as soon as it became law, I show viewers how to get the money. I immediately told them, don't focus on a $14 stimulus check. Focus on the programs because I said in January, I think it's about $15,000. The average viewer of this channel has gotten $40,000 from third stimulus. If you haven't gotten that money, open that newsletter tonight and go through those items and start applying. If you've gotten money, start applying for other sums of money across the board. And with that, let's turn to look back at the first 1.5 years of this channel. This channel turns 1.5 years old this weekend. And over the last year and a half, we've had 140 million views. But we've also learned a lot of stuff. We've learned a lot about other people. We've learned a lot about ourselves. One of the earliest, and throughout this week on each different video, I'm going to have a different look back at a different subject and what we've learned about things. One of the things I learned early on was just to really not predict things and just go with the flow and never know where things go for. Ultimately, do the best you can do at a particular thing and things will just fall. There was that truck driver that I told delivered his story live on air outside, or not live on air, but taped on air outside. And you saw me break down on tears when I told his incredible story. His story represents someone that just sort of went with the flow. He didn't expect anything. He just listened to the videos. He did what he had to do to apply for as much money as he could. And he never expected what numbers would come. When his wife went to the mailbox and opened the mailbox and she read him what the check said in the mailbox, he thought she read him $500. And when she said she read him $5,000, he was overwhelmed. He didn't predict it to get $5,000. He would have been totally happy with $500 as a truck driver that had been laid off during the middle of the pandemic. Imagine how well truck drivers are doing right now. It shows you how a year is different. Every year is different. 2020 was very bad on my truck drivers. I had countless truck drivers who review this channel could literally not get ends meet. And this check, in this case, was unemployment benefits. He was just happy to get $500 in the mail. It showed up as $5,000. He also just pushed. He learned from me early on that you do as many different things as possible. So if you hear 3 things, you do 3 things. You don't do 1. And he did. He applied for the EIDL and also unemployment, which you could do. And he didn't know what to expect. And suddenly he got $75,000 because of my recordings for EIDL on top of the $5,000. Patience we also learned a lot about in 2020. A lot of people were very patient in 2020. And certainly in 2021, I often refer back to that example of how people in 2021 sometimes are not as patient. You need to be patient in life. You can't expect things to be 2 seconds or 2 minutes. When PUA went live in America on April 28th, 3 days after this channel launched, most people didn't know it existed. That's one of the reasons why I pressed record on April 25th. A lot of people didn't know it existed. And it was supposed to go live everywhere on April 28th. It went live in about 3 states. Now, you would think that a lot of the states got it live the next week. They didn't. Florida didn't go live for several months. Hawaii didn't go live for several weeks. And then several states tried to go live and had breakdowns and had security breaches and couldn't go live. People were very frustrated. But the message I delivered to viewers was get the application in, get it applied for, because you don't know when it's going to go live and start to pay out. And it did. It did. Every single viewer who got that application in April 25th or 28th, that still was not paid on the 28th. They got paid first when it came out. And it came out, and then they got the money. Like Eileen Bellicamp out of Florida. She got her $50,000. Like my wonderful viewer, Kevin Lee from Texas. He got his, I think it was $18,000 from unemployment for Texas. They were very delayed. California paid it in 24 hours. Some of the Midwest states paid it on April 28th. But other states, they had to wait 2 months, and they got it. Some people had to wait 3 months. Patience works, and ultimately, patience is important. When we look forward, it's important to understand that as we're doing this recon, the progressives, the people that negotiate need to understand that certain things can be done now and certain things can be done later. They do not need to do climate now. They do not need to go to the mat about climate. They do not need to hold up checks to the American people for a climate check. A climate check can be done a climate reform can be done in 2022. You can get as much of the climate in there, but if the moderate Democrats say, You know, of the 3 provisions of climate, 2 of them I don't like. Take it and make it a day. It's sort of like what I said with the student loan debt forgiveness. If the president wants to do $10,000 student loan debt, do it now. Do it now. $10,000 of student loan debt could be forgiven by the holidays. Don't hold on for $50,000, because I've been recording about student loan debt now for a year, and the president's never said $50,000. And he may never say $50,000. Do the $10,000 now, and if he changes his opinion in the second year of his administration, then do it. It's all about getting those wins and getting those incremental wins. And with that, we're going to have a big winning afternoon. Join me next on Afternoons Lalate, which is at 1 o'clock, and then we go into the big Afternoons Lalate show at 3 o'clock. Then we have Evenings Lalate at 5 o'clock, and I'm really excited for you because we have now 16 hours of programming on this channel every day about forced stimulus. You can literally sit back, enjoy your friends, join in live chat, all live chat shows, join in chat with your Purple Power friends 16 hours a day. We have shows on the hour, every hour, at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Well, we start at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11:30, then back at 3, 3:30, and then returning with early mornings LA at 4 a.m. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Join me next as we go into Afternoons LA at 1 o'clock. This video will automatically take you there. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.